If we could all stand for a moment of silence. Thank you, and we'll turn and face the flag to the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll start with a roll call of council members.
Manel.
Here.
Shaver.
Here.
Cassidy.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Mendoza. Here. Logsdon.
Here.
Lake.
Here. Anybody like to make a motion to excuse Councilperson Kaufman?
I'll make a motion to excuse Steve Kaufman.
I'll second. We have a motion to excuse Council President Kaufman by Logsdon and a second by Councilperson Baker. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Logsdon. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Logsdon.
Yes.
Mendoza. Yes. Lake.
Yes.
Motion carries. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Mr. President, we ought to revise the first full paragraph to show that both Councilperson Cassidy and Logsdon were excused.
Second.
We have a motion to show that Councilpersons Cassidy and Logsdon were excused from the meeting. Motion by Manel, second by Mendoza. Call roll on the change.
Not Logsdon.
Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Abstain.
Lake.
Yes.
This correction has been made.
Move approval.
Motion for approval by Manel,
Second.
second by Mendoza.
Okay.
Call roll.
Thanks. Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Abstain.
Lake.
Yes.
Do we have any communications?
No, I do not.
All right, we'll have a report from the committee. Finance Committee did meet this evening. We talked about appropriation legislation and the CDBG grant, and it was kind of cut short, so our Safety Service Director could tell all of us at one time as opposed to repeating the same thing twice. So he will be telling us about that in his meeting tonight, or his portion. We did talk about the Finance Director position, and we had members of the public ask about overtime and a question from the candidate forum, and it was reiterated that the rumors going around that 80% of our budget is for overtime is an errant rumor that is nowhere close to being true. It was a misinterpretation of a very complex question from the candidate forum. So that is in no way accurate, and that was discussed. We also had discussion about an ADA grant and ADA access to the front of the building. And interim accommodations are going to be looked into to make sure that we have a safe entry and exit from the facility. And that was our meeting. We adjourned at 5:50 p.m. Public Affairs Committee.
Nothing needed to report.
Right. And Law and Ordinance Committee.
Law and Ordinance Committee, we had one item, which was Fremont Street, one-sided parking. We went down on Fremont Street on the east side of the railroad tracks and went down there during the day, in the afternoon, later in the evening. There's 36 houses, 32 of them have driveways. The only time I saw a car parked across or blocking one way was they had to be sitting right across from each other. There's plenty of room anywhere else on the street they could have parked in a driveway. I don't know that I see one-sided parking needed there, so we don't think it's recommended to do that for Fremont Street on the east of the railroad track. Then we had 4 ordinances we looked at. We're reviewing them, and they're in the process of just looking at what edits need to be done to clarify, to make sure that they're understandable and actually can be used. So the first one has got to do dogs and other animals, and it's got to do with the review of clarification of that involvement of the Fostoria Police and County Dog Warden and possible fines for unrestrained animals. And there actually is a clause, though, it's differentiating between somebody's animal who got loose versus somebody who has a vicious animal that's running around attacking someone. That's a little bit different. Next ordinance was regulations regarding keeping of animals. We're looking at trying to clearly identify the number of types of animals and the requirements for keeping them within the city limits. Third one was extensions and projections from buildings. This is a small ordinance that's just poorly written, so that it was almost, you couldn't understand it, so it's being rewritten just to be legible, just so it can be even reinforced. It's got to do with how far a porch or something can extend out from the front or back of a house that's uncovered or that type. It's going to be clarified basically, because right now it's written, so I don't know who could understand it. Nobody. And the last one has got to do with an ordinance that's been contentious with it. It's got to do with fences, and it's being edited and updated, and it's making distinctions between residential requirements, industrial requirements, and commercial requirements for areas, types of fences, approved materials, many things. So we're trying to go through to make sure that this, one of the more contentious ordinances we have, is clear to understand, easy to comply with. People don't have to fight about it because they know what they should be doing. So that's what we're working towards on those. I don't think there's anything else. That was it. We didn't have any public comments. So I think our next meeting, we didn't talk about that, will be not coming council, but the one after that. So I'm not sure, June, I'll have to look into that. We'll have our next meeting at 5:15 again.
Thank you. We will move into report of the officers, Director of Public Service and Safety.
Thank you, Mr. President. The mayor, unfortunately, went home this afternoon. He was feeling under the weather. So I just have two items to speak on. Last council meeting, there was an appropriations legislation that was presented to members of council. I believe there were some questions on that. I just want to clarify that. What that is we had two sinkholes, if council will recall, one in December, one in February, which totaled about $120,000 that had to come out of the water distribution fund for those repairs. So that left the repairs budget, meters budget, and fuel budget under what was required for the year. So to fix those, we had approximately $336,000 left in the American Rescue Plan funds that was in buildings and lands out at the water treatment building. They have a $250,000 project earmarked for a CO2 tank replacement. So what we've done is asked that that 336 be moved for that CO2 replacement because it's still appropriate use of those funds, the ARPA funds under the legislation. Move that 250 that was earmarked for that CO2 down into distribution and break it amongst those 5 line items to make water distribution solvable for the remainder of the year. So that's what that appropriation legislation is. It's taking basically that 250 and just breaking it amongst those 5 pieces down in distribution. And part of that was we can't obviously project how much repairs are going to need. We do have an aging infrastructure, as was evident with the 2 sinkholes that developed this year already. So moving that entire 250 versus just the 120 down there does give us some wiggle room in case we would go over that again. And the second piece would be the Community Development Block Grant, which the city is finalizing its application. We've turned in our application. The final applications are due June 14th. We anticipate a decision being made in July. We do anticipate getting awarded that money in the amount of approximately $116,000. What that would be used for is to bring our front of our building on the Main Street side, have a wheelchair accessible ramp, redo that front entrance, have actuated doors, van loading side parking out here on the side of the building, and fix the cracks in the sidewalk so that way we are making it more friendly for those that have disabilities in our community. So we do anticipate a high likelihood of getting that grant because we didn't get a grant last year. Charlene Watkins, who is the regional planning director, has said that's in the ballpark of what we can expect for an award to get that full project done. So does anyone have any questions on either one of those pieces? Or any other questions, I guess?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Safety Service Director. Director Blanc.
Thank you. Looking at the old business, which is all we have tonight. So the appropriations that Mr. Clark mentioned, we do need to pass that as an emergency tonight. Cindy indicated that there are some POs that need to be taken care of, that have kind of been held up since we weren't able to pass that at our last meeting. And also the last piece, that resolution regarding the solid waste management plan. Should you guys decide to pass that, we would need to pass that as emergency tonight. And that's all I have unless there are questions.
And that third one's because the deadline for that is prior to our next council meeting?
Correct, yes.
So we do need to have action on that one this evening, or we may have to have a special meeting just to
Yeah.
take action on that item.
If you plan to pass it, it needs to be passed tonight. Or a special meeting, but.
Any questions for the law director? All right, at this time, we will move into the public portion. And we will start with a requested person. We have Mr. Beatty from the OSS Solid Waste District Management Plan update.
Is there a specific spot that speakers usually stand at?
There.
All right.
You have the floor, sir.
Good evening, council. Thank you for the
Be better if you
invitation.
stood over by Mr. Manel, then we could hear him.
Yeah, the public can hear you then better if you stand looking this way. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
It doesn't stretch.
I'll come on in.
Should be on.
Is it? Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, they're on.
Okay. I just came in. Not to take up too much time with the council. I know you have a docket and things you'd like to get done tonight. I just really wanted to thank the council for reading the OSS plan. I watched, as many people are watching right now, I watched your last meeting and you had some questions, some important questions. Thank you for bringing those up. It's a 374-page document, and for council to have read those is impressive, and I thank you. That's what I want to start with. Thank you for actually taking the time. I'm going to hit some of the highlights in case you kind of got lost between the chapters, appendices, and they throw each other back and forth. It goes into a lot of the programs that we do at OSS. I'm the solid waste director, Gary Beatty. Special collections, which are free to all residents, to include Fostoria. Our hazardous household waste, which is our HHW collection. We have it at the fairgrounds, no cost to any residents. You can come out, bring your paint, stains, different things like that. That's one of our big events that we put on at OSS. Also tire collection, where residents can come and bring their tires out, and for a nominal fee, they can come bring tires out and have them recycled. All the things that we do, the HHW, the paint stains, those are all sent through a vendor and recycled. We also hold appliance collection, where if folks have like maybe an old deep freeze, anything down to humidifiers, dehumidifiers that aren't working, they bring them out and free of charge. We have companies that come out and recycle those, kind of rip them apart, sell them for scrap, different things like that. We have TV electronics, they do the same thing. We just had that 2 weeks ago at the Seneca County Fairgrounds. I don't know if anybody made it. It's out there for, we have it at 3 different places for all the 3 different counties that we represent. Another big thing is the education portion that we provide. One part is our K through 5 education, where we go through every school within the 3 counties K through 5, educate on litter prevention and recycling. A big thing that you've probably seen if you've been driving through the 3-county area is our 5th grade billboard competition, where you'll see a billboard, looks like it was done kind of like maybe by a 5th grader, maybe by a really advanced 5th graders, that's what we get. And basically all of the 5th graders in the 3 counties put in a submission for this competition. 3 from each county win, and if you win, you get your design up on a Lamar billboard near your school. Also, your school gets a trophy, which is a miniature version of a Lamar billboard, and then you also get one to take home with you. So it's a big deal. Personally, it's my favorite event that OSS puts on. You get to interact with our youth, and I have a real quick story. One of the first things I did when I was a director, I went out to a school, met some parents for a 5th grade young lady, And she's been telling her parents since kindergarten, when we come into the schools, that she's gonna win. And once you know it, 5 years later, she's in 5th grade, she wins competing against every other 5th grader in her county. It was one of my favorite stories. And one of the favorite things that we get to do. Adult education, we have civic groups that we work with, Kiwanis, Lions Clubs, on composting, recycling, buying sustainable products. We also do Adopt a Road, where we supply the supplies to pick up bags, grabbers, different things. Also, I think on 199, the Fostoria Lions Club has their sign up right there for Adopt a Road, which is our program. We do competitive grants that fund organizations that have a recycling program or are attempting to create one. We have 2 rounds of this. Our first round is already passed. It was due in January. Our next round is due June 30th. If you go on our website, recycleoss.org, it has a About Us, and you can look up competitive grants. And the application and the guidelines are on there for that. This year we budgeted $100,000, $50,000 for each round. And Seneca County only had 2 submissions for the January round, unfortunately. However, the June round last time, those 9 applications, 6 of them were from Seneca County. So it just kind of comes in weird waves where a lot of groups from one county may or may not do it. I haven't had a good mix yet. It's always one or the other kind of thing. But it's open to everybody that is a nonprofit organization or a city, village, or a township. Last but not least, kind of the thing that we do, our township, city, village tire collection, free recycling for the city of Fostoria for their tires, which we've been in contact with Chris Basinger, the street department, and he's bringing out over 100 tires to us to be recycled free of charge for the city of Fostoria, which is a program that we also offer. Some of the questions that I did see while watching the video, we did have some discrepancies in the chart and what the explanation, the paragraph supporting it, where it was inverted, where it was supposed to be increase versus decrease. The chart shows the correct thing. The explanation was inverted the wrong way. What else did we have? I think slide 27B1, it didn't make sense at the end. It was because it was the wrong, I think it said Ottawa County, I was supposed to say Sunny Farms. And it was flip-flop. If you flip-flop that, then it makes sense. A lot of these our policy committee, which is made of 21 members, 7 from each county. 4 of those from the county are elected officials. 3 are from the residents. We put this all together. This plan has been put together for a year and a half of them working together, meeting, putting it together, meeting, putting it together. Goes to the EPA as a draft, comes back. When it came back from the EPA, they wanted us to change the format. So I believe some of those in the formatting kind of mixed up things on the pages, and it kind of messed things up for us in those 2 instances. Or at least in the one instance where it didn't make sense, something got cut off and didn't go right. And I believe there was one more question about funding in the later years.
You show a deficit in the last 2 years.
Right, correct. That if you look in the supporting paragraph below that, it explains that in those years we're deficit spending in any carryover amounts that have occurred from the previous years. Basically, if we've had any carryover, those years we're deficit spending those dollars down in the programs that we have.
Would you explain to this group why the recycling bins were removed from Fostoria, that the Rotary Club worked so hard to get here?
And why they were only cardboard and not glass or cans.
It was a temporary situation that I worked with the mayor about, and that temporary situation was at a year and a half. Also, I had many times sent the mayor pictures of things that weren't supposed to be in there. We actually escalated to where we had a sign, and I have pictures of a sign that say cardboard only, and there's a giant piece of styrofoam and other things sticking out of the dumpster. So it was twofold in that it was a temporary arrangement. Second, people, probably a very few members, but some members of the population were kind of ruining it for everyone else. That's really what it came down. There was no oversight out there by the Lions Club or the city, as it was just kind of a spot outside the stadium.
So don't you have those kinds of problems at most recycling centers?
No, we didn't. Our township, if you're referring to our township recycling programs, our township officials and the road crews out there take a lot of pride in sort of the people that bring it, because you have to think this isn't kind of, people in township recycling program have to put their recycling in their car. First they have to collect it, then they have to put it in the car, then they have to drive it to a location. So they're generally invested in that program. They're not just shopping and throwing things, or they're close, or they're walking by, or there's foot traffic, or it's near a stadium and nobody's watching. Usually our township recycling is attached to the township building.
Well, the same thing's true in Fostoria. They have to put the cardboard in their car, they have to drive it to the stadium, they have to drop it off.
Yeah,
Is the city of Fostoria allowed to use the township recycling places?
it's like, well,
Those are for the township members. How heavily, how well policed, or what the township decides to do with that is up to the township. This is for a township program. Next question, why doesn't the city of Fostoria have it? That's a good question. I've been working with the mayor about that, why we don't have a recycling program here, because OSS does not have a city recycling program.
So I can address that a little bit. The mayor asked me to speak on that a little bit. When we asked about a citywide recycling program, it was pitched to us that if we did go citywide recycling, we'd have to go one carrier for our waste removal. We didn't feel that it was fair to our citizens to tie them all into a rate, and they didn't have a choice in who was hauling away their refuse. And I didn't think it was, the mayor and I did not think it was appropriate to make that decision for them without them having input into that. So that's kind of.
but now everything goes into trash instead. It's the first time in many, many years of my life that I'm throwing glass, cans, plastic, everything I recycle all my life is now going into the trash. I feel so good about that. I feel so hopeless. Go out to Loudon and they say, oh, you can't. Now it's more recently they put up the signs. This is for Loudon Township residents only. It used to say, the trash is for Loudon Township. Please don't throw any recycles in there. We still were putting things in recycle bins. I open recycle bins and there's bags of plastic in there. Don't tell me they're all responsible. They had to clean them up also. I open it up and I'm pulling out my own trash. I'm pulling out a trash bag, emptying my trash bag, and pulling out other people's trash bag and emptying the stuff out of it and throwing it and bringing it home and putting it into my trash. So using it as an excuse that we can't keep it clean enough.
No, that's
We'll
what
put
the
cameras
reason-
out there too. We'll put cameras out there too if that's what needs to happen. But we should be having recycling.
You should have recycling. That's
In
why
a program
Tiffin
that's
has it,
supported by
Clinton
OSS.
has it, Bellevue has it, Oak Harbor has it. All the cities in the district have it besides Fostoria.
But did
All
you
of the
hear what he
cities.
said? We don't want to go to one carrier.
I don't know how
That
else
is up to
do
the
it.
city council. That's not up to me.
I don't know how else to do it.
But that's one of your requirements if we had it.
No,
correct?
it's not. No, they're doing something. They're going to place 4 different sites in the city of Bellevue. Just passed 2 weeks ago.
We would be happy with 2.
Yeah.
Why cannot the solid waste district increase the prices? Why are they not charging the maximum tipping fees and the maximum charges so that they can supply recycling to Fostoria?
$1.30 or whatever. So,
They're not at the state.
It's not a price issue. It is an issue that we don't have that program. Through the 3 counties, we don't have that program. We have a township program that helps townships. The reason behind that is because townships would have a hard time getting recycling due to the distance. Many of the waste haulers wouldn't even accept coming to them because of the distance and the density. Cities always have the distance, which is small, and the density, which is large.
But you have a contract with Republic Services that you could extend to the city of Fostoria very easily, and they would make 2 stops and pick it up.
Yep.
I don't have a contract with Republic Services, and we don't have a program that extends to
That's your
cities.
township? That's your township contract, is it not?
Our township contracts with Republic, or with Rumpke.
Okay, with Rumpke, I misspoke.
An R word. R. Rumpke.
But you have more clout with Rumpke than we would.
About what,
To have a contract to have them pick up recyclables in Fostoria.
the city would have to go into a contract with them in some capacity.
OSS could not
But
do
you're
it.
paying for it.
We don't have a program that does it for cities.
Why not?
You could have.
I'll bring it up at my next board meeting.
There's a lot of red added additions to the things you guys are claiming you're doing on the new plan you put it to us. None of them said anything about recycling for Fostoria.
No.
Or
They didn't say
recycling
anything
period,
for
it's like
recycling.
gone.
Did you see where it said for multifamily home recycling?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
All your places you pick up, in all the townships and all the villages that go to OSS, I see the trucks on the road, over around Green Springs often, the trucks are up and down the road all the time. Of that recyclables that you're picking up, how much of it actually gets recycled and how much of it actually ends up at the landfill?
All of it goes to a recycling site. I was just there on Monday in Mansfield with Rumpke. We're doing an audit right now to find out those questions as we speak from our township program. They take it, they're putting it in boxes. We have a crew that is going through it to give us a percent so that I'll be able to send out a report hopefully in the summer of how much is going, that is getting pulled out, that is not recyclable, how much of it is blatant someone throwing a bathtub or a toilet in there knowing that's not recyclable, or how much is wish cycling, because some people watch the news, and if you watch the news, probably in Vermont, probably in California, you can recycle styrofoam. In Ohio, in our area, you cannot recycle styrofoam. So there's a lot of like what we call wish cycling.
I'd like to go back to a question I previously asked. Why is the fee structure not the highest allowed by the state of Ohio?
It is what the board has recommended that it is.
Am I allowed to ask a question? Or?
Seems like everybody is.
Okay, here's my question for you. If we put out recycling on the outskirts of city limits, because you know that the city limit stops and then right on the outskirts of property that you are able to manage, would that be something that would be a compromise? We're right on the outskirts of town, it's not in the city limits, so now we're in whatever township area, we're now the Midland, the wasteland, that's just right outside our city limits. Would you entertain doing that?
I would entertain anything that the council would bring up, but doing it in this forum, I think, is a kind of a misnomer to the entire project.
Why?
Because I can't answer any questions without my board. I'm simply here to answer some questions about the plan.
Okay, who prepared the plan? Was it the board, policy committee, or was it farmed out to a third party?
The policy committee put it together. A third-party vendor helps orchestrate step-by-step putting it together to material changes.
Is this a county entity or?
No. This is a three-county entity.
Okay, so is there tax dollars involved?
No. Is a private contract that OSS has with our landfills in Port Clinton and with Sunny Farms.
How's it funded?
Through host agreements between the two. It goes off of a percentage of what waste goes in. Tonnage equates to cents and dollars.
So folks that are getting their trash collected inside the city limits of Fostoria, are some of the fees that the cost they have for that, are fees being paid from their trash disposal to fund the OSS program?
Very, very small. It's under 10%, but yes.
But the folks in Fostoria are funding that.
Any, not only Fostoria, anybody that, that
With
puts
our
trash
density
in.
But
of
then
our
we
city.
can't use the township.
Or?
No. This is a three-county entity.
Okay, so is there tax dollars involved?
No. Is a private contract that OSS has with our landfills in Port Clinton and with Sunny Farms. through host agreements between the two. It goes off of a percentage of what waste goes in. Tonnage equates to cents and dollars.
So, folks that are getting the trash collected inside the city limits of Fostoria, are some of the fees that, the cost they have for that, are fees being paid from their trash disposal to fund the OSS program?
Very, very small. It's under 10%, but yes.
But the folks in Fostoria are funding that.
Any, not only Fostoria, anybody that,
Anybody.
that puts
But
trash.
then we can't use the township recycling facility.
Any of our carriers that haul trash to the dump, they get charged a fee.
Mhm.
They have to be profitable, and the dump in turn pays you guys a fee for every ton they take in that gets hauled out of the city of Fostoria through the carriers, right? I'm just trying to get
Say
the
that.
step through here.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I pay Apple Disposal to pick up my trash. They haul it to the dump, south of town. The dump in turn is paying you, because of the host agreement, a fee
Yes,
per ton that comes from Fostoria,
yes.
and all those carriers, Omsteads, whoever. So you are getting money from the OSS, and you are the OSS, you're the director, and we're indirectly paying it. We're not getting a damn thing from it, is the point that we're all trying to make, sitting here, every one of us, and you don't care.
I appreciate your passion.
No, that's not passion.
To say
It's
that
bullshit that we're not getting anything from it. That's what it is.
I think I'm all done. I don't.
I have-
appreciate
Well, I'm
that.
not done yet.
I have another question regarding the policy. Does the expansion of an existing landfill have to follow all the requirements set forth in the procedure implementing siting strategy?
Yes.
This policy mentions absolutely nothing about the expansion of Sunny Farms landfill.
Correct.
Why?
Because this is a programs and education plan. This isn't the top 10. If you read the first 10 pages, it talks about what the goals for the Ohio EPA are. 0 of them have anything about oversight or expansion of landfills.
But you get into the exhibits,
The exhibits are because the EPA makes me show if we have landfills, who they are, what they do.
So is your deficit spending the last few years based on the anticipation of Sunny Farms' expansion then?
No, deficit spending is spending carryover dollars more than what our budget is. Say we're budgeted for $1 million. We're budgeted for $1 million because that's based off of what our revenue is. And those years we could say budget for $1.1 million, $1.2 million to spend carryover dollars in years.
but if you look at your carryover budget, you must have that parked in a small town bank paying a savings rate because you're not actively investing that money and you carry it over from year to year every year. Why would you not optimize the investment?
We do invest. It goes through Sandusky County.
And what does Sandusky County do with it?
They invested in whatever the county's investment strategy is.
Well, you've got over $2 million in carryover and you're estimating $20,000 in interest per year. That's 1%. I mean, you can do better than that. We do better than that.
Out of the 3 counties, who pays the most?
Pays the most.
Yes, of your pay. I mean, out of the 3 counties, Ottawa, Sandusky, and Seneca, which one generates the most money? Sandusky, or Seneca?
Seneca.
By a lot?
Yes.
Tune of like 90%?
By 83%.
83%? And the fundings for this, for all this waste management or the recycling, that goes to a special branch, right? You said in June 30th, we have a grant we could apply for?
Correct.
Who's the committee that dictates who gets the funding?
We have a grant committee based on 1 person per county.
Have we attempted to have this recycling center in one of these 3 counties instead of outsourcing it to Mansfield, Ohio?
No.
Is there plans to try to do that?
No.
Educate me, wait, please. Loudon Township has a nice facility out there. It's well maintained, it's well lit. It looks to me like it's adequately surveyed with cameras constantly. And I think that's probably one of the reasons it's kept up so well. Who fits the bill for that? How much do you contribute to Loudon Township for that facility?
I don't contribute any money to that
None?
facility. That's the township. That's their facility. The only thing that we pay for is the cans and the recycling cost.
So you are paying, you're making a contribution out there.
For the not the infrastructure, not the cameras, not the building, not anything that you mentioned before. We pay for the recycling that happens. The township is in charge, every township for our recycling program is in charge of their own grounds.
Which goes back to Mr. Kodak's point that we have one of your densest population zones in your three-county area. And we're not receiving services that the townships that are less dense than us receive.
For that exact reason, if you spin it around, that's because the less dense populations wouldn't be able to get services. The
We are
cities,
able to get services.
you are able to get services and you're just not doing it.
We can get services at a cost.
Which is the same cost that Tiffin pays, the same cost that Port Clinton pays, the same cost that Fremont pays, the same cost that Oak Harbor pays.
And the same cost that they pass
Bellevue
on
pays.
to all of their residents. They do not pay it as a city, they pass it on to their residents, am I correct?
Their residents pay for their own recycling and trash, correct?
And I would guess that they're paying significantly more than residents in Fostoria are paying with competitive services.
I don't know what the competitive services are, I don't know what the price is for
What you're-
recycling and trash here.
What you're doing is creating a monopoly within each of those cities. The residents have one choice and one choice only. They can't go out and get bids from 3, 4, or 5 suppliers. They're locked in. That's not a good formula. That's not what free enterprise is all about.
I'd just like to reiterate what Mr. Baker said. You know, with your answer, that 83% of your actual income comes from Seneca County, correct?
Yes,
Is 83% going back to Seneca County? Or is that going into the whole, and then the 100% gets divided up between the 3 counties?
it gets divided up equally
Yeah, we're
as
getting
it's,
there.
as it's
Yeah.
part of a district.
We get to chat.
We get rid of.
Can I say something? Yesterday, something happened in regards to this within my own family. My daughter-in-law called me, she's at Loudon Township, ready to drop off all her recycling, which her kids help her, she teaches them how to, she calls me, she says, there's a sign and I can't put my stuff in here. And I go, oh man, and where can she go? I said, I guess I have to go to Findlay. So why would you teach kids about recycling when they can't even?
They can,
Put
the
it
city
anywhere.
just hasn't created
There's nowhere in Fostoria
hasn't
to
created a
put it.
recycling program.
All of
I don't
your-
create recycling programs
All
for
of your
cities.
education goes to waste if there is no recycling program.
Correct.
This program, this policy is heavy on education and weak on recycling.
You're trying to make us out the bad guys. Oh, the city's fault. It's the city's fault.
Is this not a city recycling program we're talking about?
We can't even get cans available to us, much less pick it up. If you just had a station, if we had a station where you could throw cans and glass and plastic, cardboard, it'd be great.
We'd even try and sort it. You don't require the townships to sort it.
I would say.
I said try. But, you know, everything gets dumped in the townships.
Yeah,
And
including
then-
plastic bags.
Then somebody else sorts it.
Which they don't.
But we were always just relegated to only paper and cardboard.
So what are the ramifications if this council does not pass this policy, this resolution?
The vote would be to have the Ohio EPA write your plan. And they don't pay for oversight of landfills, they don't do a lot of things that the 21 members of the community put together.
You weren't doing it either.
We don't get anything now. So why would we pass it?
You probably heard this before. this is not personal. I'm really getting tired of this community getting treated like a stepchild.
Yes.
It's always somebody else's fault. There's always some lame excuse why we can't get some of the things that some of the other communities have. And I don't think it's because we're that ignorant, that poor, that foolish. But since we're split up in 3 counties, everybody wants to take their shots at it. You say it's not personal, but I'm right up to you.
Tired of 3 counties.
I mean, do you agree that 83% is by Seneca County, but we get a third of the funding than the Seneca County? And that's all.
That money all comes from
Yeah.
the dump,
The dump.
that 83%. That we have to smell.
In that plan, it shows $1.30 per ton.
Yeah.
Correct? If you're in the district, the OSS district. If you're out of the district, or it's $1.50 and then $3 per ton. If you're in Hancock County, they get $3. Now, stuff from out of state goes back down to what? Is it $1.50, or I see that Sunny Farms gives 75 cents added to it? Are they only paying 75 cents, or are they paying 75 cents plus the $1.50?
Correct.
They're paying both?
Correct.
Because don't they have a fund that they only pay 75 cents of the demolition material? And don't they put a lot of demolition material on top of their stuff underneath, so we don't really know what they're paying? Correct or not?
No, not correct. No, if it gets categorized, and a lot of it is a pulverized debris issue, which is not a new issue. It's been for 10, 15, probably years longer than me.
So if it's demolition, they pay just 75 cents, or it's 75 plus the 1/3?
Plus.
Plus the 1/3, okay.
Is that self-monitored by Sunny Farms, or do you guys actually monitor that?
Well, the monitoring happens by the end user.
They don't have the scales that they run the,
So it's the honor system at Sunny Farms.
They measure overall weight of a car, but they don't distinguish.
they don't weigh
weight.
them. The scales don't work anymore. They don't weigh them.
The only place it may be weighed is if the railroad weighs it because they suspect that it's overweight.
At one point in time, they actually I saw this functioning.
I know,
Looked at them.
it did.
Yeah.
It didn't work for like 2-3 years, and then they fixed it.
Right.
The last report that I had from somebody out there said it's not working again, and they just count cars and say that's 100 ton.
Question for you. If we are in the 3 counties, as we are in Fostoria, what is the populace of Seneca County in Fostoria? Do we qualify as a township? Because we are 3 counties. So if you're only focused in Seneca County portion of our city, we are really considered a township if you look at the population.
The state of Ohio regulates municipalities and townships entirely different by definition than not a township.
Okay.
Gladly have a conversation in a different forum about getting recycling in Fostoria. I came here to cordially ask you, as the commissioners have asked, to pass our plans to get these programs back into commission and not give the Ohio EPA a say in what happens in Fostoria and other communities here, Seneca County, as well as Ottawa and Sandusky County.
And there was one clarification there, like 83% comes from Seneca County from the dump. The other 17 comes from where?
Port Clinton has that
So
landfill.
Ottawa County has one.
Yes.
No money comes from Sandusky County.
No,
Correct.
they don't have a landfill.
They don't have one, so they contribute nothing, but they get divided by 3 at least, and maybe more than their third.
The error was made years ago when they created the 3-county OSS solid waste district. That's when the mistake was made. And we've been suffering from it ever since. I have one final question. Appendix M shows all in-district landfills and their remaining capacity, and states all of which far exceed the planning period for this plan update. First, there's another chart that shows Sunny Farms only has 8 years left. And secondly, it says therefore the district is not aware of any closure activities for any licensed solid waste facilities during the planning period. And it makes no statement about expansion plans whatsoever.
Because there hasn't been any expansion accepted. we can't plan for something that we don't know whether it's gonna happen or not, so we don't mention, as well as what you're talking about there is specifically Sunny Farms. You're forgetting that OSS is a 3-county district, and as I mentioned before, Port Clinton has, I believe, 82 years of life.
So the capacity that we need for local, ultimately, all go Port Clinton, is that what you're saying?
No, it still it could, it just depends. I don't
mean, if
predict
they're
the
full.
future. If they're full, it could go over there. And I heard a question, what does all the East Coast waste, what happens to it if the landfill's full? I don't know what happens to all the chicken if KFC closes down. I bet it stops coming. Like if it stops there, if that's closed, they're not gonna keep bringing it in. The waste we have would then shift to Port Clinton, it would shift to Hancock County. We have resolutions and agreements with them.
All of that out-of-state waste comes in by rail. Very few landfills have rail capacity.
Correct. Well, the two in our district do until recently. Port Clinton took out their rail system.
So we are the only one.
In our 3-county district, correct.
And why would you create a plan that does not plan the expansion of Sunny Farms when they've already put in an application, when they held an EPA hearing last week concerning it and getting ready for it? Why would you not put it in the plan?
Because the EPA gave us guidance not to, because we don't know what's gonna happen. We can't plan for something we have no idea what's gonna happen.
And you're asking us to approve this so that the EPA doesn't take over the plan. I'm confused.
What part are you confused about?
You said, oh, please approve our OSS plan, because if you don't, EPA will take over and do the plan. Well, it sounds like they already did the plan.
No, we asked them this specific question. And they said, how can you make a plan about something that just happened? And there's no idea when this could be approved. The expansion, I don't know how familiar you are with these processes. They can go on for 5-10 years before it could be out of the plan's jurisdiction.
Okay, let me counter that statement, please. The CEO of Wind Waste Solutions said, you don't want to spend multiple millions of dollars for a facility that is down in 10 years. He made that statement on August of last year. They spent $56 million on a hydrogen sulfide capture at Sunny Farms landfill. Do you think they are not going to expand within 10 years?
I think it's not up to them.
I think they will.
Otherwise, they would have probably done it, but we have the EPA and the health board. Those are the gatekeepers for their expansion, not OSS. We simply get fees to run programs and education.
Question. On 2016, it shows that the life expectancy at Sunny Farms was 23 years. 5 years later, we're looking at 8 years. Doesn't make sense. I mean, is it because of the out-of-state coming in?
It's because of whatever they
I mean,
did.
it dropped considerably. I think 23 years in 2017 when the plan started. Now we're at 8 years.
It has all to do with what they're doing out there and what they bring in.
That's scary.
That's because their scales don't work.
That's disturbing.
Who is accountable for that? Seems to me that the deal was they were to weigh everything. That's how the pricing was predicated.
Yeah,
And I believe they brought a crew in from Germany
they did.
and installed new scales. It's only been, about 4 years ago?
At the most.
Yeah, you toured it, Ed.
I saw it. I
See it
watched
working.
it.
Yeah.
I saw it working. I did.
Whether it works or not, they don't use it.
Yeah, you're right.
So my assessment of this tonight is, I feel like we're at a stalemate because you guys want OSS to pay for us to have recycling. OSS doesn't feel as though it's their responsibility, so where does this leave us? If we can't negotiate something between us, we're gonna end up with no recycling, and our 8-year Sunny Farms capacity is going to drop expensive, a lot, because we don't have any place to take our recycling. We can't keep working like this. We have to find a way to work together, or this is never gonna fly. It hasn't all these years. We've got to fix it. We've got to fix it. We can't keep attacking OSS, and OSS can't keep blaming it on the mayor or whoever was involved at the time. We've got to fix the problem.
I got
We have to work together to do it.
Anybody opposed by asking question?
Everybody else.
I guess I was trying to get an understanding. If the EPA were to take over, where would that leave Sandusky County, say? Because they don't have any host, they're not a host community, like we're a host community. Where would that leave someone like Sandusky County who is part of the OSS that doesn't have any, they're not Portland, they're not Fostoria, they don't have that. Where would that leave them?
For them, it impacts them minimally because they're just part of this and they don't have a landfill.
So
where in here, it offers language that the board can, which if anybody's been paying attention, the county, OSS and the county are working on something for more oversight. If this isn't passed, the EPA takes it, that goes away.
So what would happen with our 83% if the EPA came?
They decide what's best.
As far as they could take it totally out of the community?
They just spend it on what they think is important.
Within the host community?
Within the 3 counties.
Okay, so there would still be the 3-county solid waste district. They would just break it up.
They would just spend it in the way that
So it
that
wouldn't
the
necessarily
EPA.
advantage Seneca County if the EPA came in and
It
terminated
would,
their
it
80%.
would not advance Seneca County. It would go in the wrong direction. Because I know the commissioners.
Why would it go in the wrong?
Why would it?
We wouldn't be, there would be no verbiage to do what the OSS board and the Seneca County commissioners are trying to do, which is earmark funds for more oversight at the landfill, which is currently happening as we speak. And not approving this plan would throw that backwards because a plan written by the EPA does not allow for that to happen.
What oversight are you planning on
Between the Seneca County commissioners getting with the rest of the board, they talked about they had some different options from the health board that they brought forward.
Are you guys gonna fund more for more testing out of Seneca?
That's-
I mean, is that one of the agreements that you have?
That's one of several different things that they're bringing. It sounded like air, it sounded like some water, it sounded like different things. What I'm trying to say is that the EPA writes that, they don't write that in the plan. Like I said, they do 10 things, and
We
that's
also
all.
saw the EPA not testing anything out there now. We saw that the other night in the meeting.
Right.
So that's scary.
Just the health department's the only people.
Yeah,
Right,
the health
and that's what
department-
we're in the throes. That's why this is a late meeting. That's why there's an emergency vote on this, because there was talks across the way between my board and Seneca County commissioners. And now we figured that out. They pushed for this to get ratified so that we can move forward and earmark that money. Where if the EPA does it, there's no oversight. They're not earmarking money. They just put it into whatever programs in education, which I mentioned before is what the plan is for, to happen.
Do you have like a set amount you can be on with
No.
Seneca County on?
No, they're in the initial talks about what it is. Seneca County is getting together what the amounts would be or could be currently.
But this was not offered voluntarily by OSS up front.
Nope.
What was not?
The money, the funding was something.
Money
they-
oversight for the landfill.
No, it was brought by the county commissioners. When they had public meetings and people brought it up to them, they brought it to us.
I have no further questions.
Thank you for your time.
We will now open the public portion for anyone remaining that would like to speak and address council. You will have 3 minutes to address council. Please write your name and address in the records.
I'll stand over here so everybody can hear. I'm just doing a follow-up. I am here representing the American Legion and our request to get the oversight for that DORA into our back that didn't occur when we did the first one. About a month and a half ago, we approached, we were told that the packet was done. Sarah came in and gave the presentation. I know that it has to be put in the newspaper for 2 weeks, and my hope is, because our goal is to have it approved before the summer, and we're into May now, that it will be utilized as an emergency once the two runs come through. But where are we in that process here at the council? Because I haven't seen it in the paper yet.
I believe that would be a question for Sarah Stevens Crawford to Chamber of Commerce.
We spoke with Sarah and we sent in the notice to the review times. I remember the date.
Speak up, please.
Sorry, yeah, Tammy and I have been in communications with Sarah, and I believe Tammy sent the notice to the review times for the, that we had the application on file in the mayor's office. I can't remember the dates that was to be published.
I think it was the 18th. Can't remember the dates.
Yeah.
I know it was two consecutive.
Yeah,
And
but
she responded back.
Yeah, we've started the process. It's scheduled to be published.
Because I know that Sarah initiates it, but the council here is the one that has the final say. It is a council concept that has to be addressed.
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
anticipated having the legislation ready for our next meeting after the actual publication.
Thank you very much.
A little slow, this new knee's only 13 days old. Not thinking slow though, been off the narcotics for a week. Couple things. First of all, I don't think it's been mentioned, but I personally want to thank Mr. Logston for his time that he served on the Seneca County Health Board. He has resigned. I have offered my letter of that I would like to be appointed to that board as his replacement. It was submitted the other day. Josh initialed it and signed it. The mayor has it. He told me laying by his phone. The second thing is that as you all, anybody that attended the EPA meeting, we all know that they have no clue what's going on at the landfill. None of them. Mr. Kruger that wrote up our Fostoria water assessment, if any of you have read through that, they did find the landfill finally for the 2023 assessment. It gets one line, says one landfill. Doesn't say how big it is, doesn't say how bad it is, it just says one landfill. It's listed the same as one hog farm. It's listed the same as possible septic tanks that don't work well. They're clueless. That was very obvious that they were clueless, and yet if we don't go with the OSS thing, they're going to take over. It just seems terrible that we're supporting this dump out here. I don't use the word official name for it because it is a dump. Because we have to smell it. We smelled it for years. We've had people get sick. We had to shut them off from sending their leachate into town. And then we turn right around and the reason they're out of, it's obvious, you just do the math. The reason they're out of space is they've taken in more than they actually said they did. They didn't pay fees on it. They already got hit with a fine for that years ago. They've never been in compliance. They're only under this agreement with Attorney General Yost. And the next big thing coming down is June 3rd. Write it down, all of you. June 3rd. That $85 million catastrophe out there is supposed to be up and running then. As I stand here alive with two good knees now, it won't be. So what happens then? It should be a continual caravan of people from the city of Fostoria driving down that road that it's on to shut the landfill down. They said it was going to be done. Ben Nutter stood it right here, reached over this bench and said, "How dare you tell the health board that I said that it wouldn't be done?" I didn't say that it wouldn't be done. I am now. And I'm not quoting Ben Nutter. Because all I said is that he said there would probably be delays. Well, I'm telling you, go out and drive by it. Last I was there a week or two ago, the electric's not even there. And you got what, 2 weeks? So I think as a council in a city, we need to hold their feet to the fire, because obviously the EPA could care less. As long as the checks keep getting wrote, everybody's happy. The second thing is that the director of the Seneca County Health Department, her contract was let go. I was at the meeting last night. I got a copy of the reason she was let go, the survey that they used for that criteria, and the people that she works with day in and day out in the county. You can read it for yourself. It reads like a book of somebody you couldn't work with, can't work with, and don't want to work with. For the people that are out there within the county that gave the survey, 8 out of 12 of them returned it, and they're listed in there as what their offices were. The cool part about it is you don't know who they are, who returned it. So it's kind of random, because only 8 of them returned it out of the ones that actually got it. So it's about as good as you can get, I suppose. I don't personally have anything against her. I think she's knowledgeable. I think she was a good person for the job. The problem was she didn't work good with other people. If you don't work good with other people, you're done. My theory on what Fostoria needs on that board is not just somebody like me who's anti-dump, and I'm not anti-dump, I just wish they'd do the right thing. But we need more than that. We need help through the health department for the blighted housing, tear the housing down, the land bank program, vaccination program. Our per capita income here and the resources that we use, we're probably getting 83% of the resources from the Seneca County Health Department here in Fostoria when it comes to low income. Tiffin's getting the rest, and the rest of the county. So we're getting our fair share, and I realize that, and I know those are important programs to the people here in town. So that's one of the reasons that I'd like to get on there and make sure that we still keep getting our fair share, because as Mr. Manel said, that agreement was a piece of junk back day one when it was drafted. When you got to share your money, that you have to put up with the mess with two other counties, and yours is just wrong, totally wrong. Thank you.
Any other members of the public? You ever been here before? So you sign in, you state your name, tell us where you live. Cool. And then tell us what you want to tell us.
My name is Trey Yates, lifelong resident of Fostoria. I guess I was just seeking to understand, because I was fishing at Reservoir 4 the last few days and noticed that it was super low, and I was trying to figure out what was going on because I'd never seen it that low. Reached out to Mayor Keckler, and he kind of informed me briefly something about why it was being drained. I guess I don't really understand yet. That's kind of why I was here. I don't know if that could be answered for me.
So Reservoir 4, it's part of a project that's going to be decommissioning that reservoir, turning it into a wetlands project. Part of that process is taking that water level down. So what we've done is, actually that was very good water. We haven't used off of that since I was 1999. So it's all rainwater that's in there. Rob, our water treatment superintendent, pulled that down, treated the rain through the treatment plant, or through our water plant, and we pulled it down that way. So I don't believe it's going to drop beyond what it is right now, because part of the process is core samples from the sidewalls and sediment samples, and then they'll further decommission that. So it will not fill back up. That's not part of the plan. It's going to be taken down and it'll be turned into a wetland. So the total project is to restore the original flow of portage through the area. So it's going to restore back to its natural state.
Gotcha. And I guess my question then was why? What's the reasoning for that?
The why is twofold. It's going to serve the community better as a place for them to go and enjoy. Part of the big scale project will be maybe eventually to put some boardwalks in there and a place for the citizens to enjoy. Also, what that does is it adds to our flood mitigation, because when we have the high flow, what it is, we've channelized that river currently, and it builds back pressure into the system. So by releasing that pressure, it allows it to flow into an open area. We take the pressure off of our system, because we have what's called a combined sewer overflow. So that's where we get our high waters and our flood issues. And so that relieves that, build up that back pressure. So that's part of our long-term control plan.
Okay, I think that was kind of the response that Mayor Keckler gave briefly to me. I guess my question for that is, me personally, I work at the wine state. And part of what I want to see as a young person in Fostoria, I've been here forever, is more things that attract people. I guess my objection to that is the reservoir currently is known for being one of the best fisheries, not that you've ever fished stuff, but it's not going to be there.
So I understand that concern, but on the flip side, I think we're going to make that a better place for people, because we are going to put walking paths through there.
I get that.
Connect it, the goal is to connect it over to the park and make a trail system there through.
And that would be really cool, except we did that with fruit out on 18. And when I drive to Tiffin to go play disc golf, I don't see cars there. That's kind of the same type of idea, trails, cool area. And I guess my objection there is I don't see as much potential as the brand name of wetland gives off. And my concern is eliminating something that's currently useful that I see a bunch of people, granted the same group of people every time, using, to something where I don't know if there's going to be a purpose. I don't know if there's.
Well, like I said, it is twofold. It's not just recreational for the citizens, it is also alleviates the pressure on our combined sewer overflows. So it alleviates the pressure that's on our system, which is part of our consent decree that we're under with the US EPA. So this is part of that US EPA plan. We wanted to do it in a way that was attractive to the community, because theirs is just we could have turned it into just a waste basin essentially, and as long as it's not building up in the system and pass through, this is to make it a recreation.
Okay,
And
and then
development.
another question, is there a way to, as far as a weigh station, if that water gets too low, we're going to have quite the big weigh station of depth in that water. So is there a way to, I know that there's mass commercial netting that you can fish out, relieve the fish that are there, because that's the reason it's attractive, is because the fish that are there. And so I didn't know if there was a way when it hits, the way it's shaped, it goes, you can see if you drive past it, that back half is the deeper half. If there was a way to, when you've got it to a pool, to all the other reservoirs are within golf ball in a way to net them, truck them.
And that I don't know. I think that's more of a question for ODNR. So in this project we have H2 Ohio, ODNR, US EPA, Ohio EPA. So there's a lot of agencies, the Army Corps of Engineers, a lot of agencies that are interconnected. And one may say, yes, go ahead and do this. The other says, wait, you can't do that. So I would like to give you a yes or no on that right now, without knowing what all the agencies would say.
Another question, is that land that's there all the way out, that's Stellar out there, right? Is that, who owns that? Is that city?
I believe that's our property.
It's all city? Follow up, even the trees that are out past north of, or south of the reservoir there, that leads up along the
Pretty
creek?
buddy to the Portage.
Yeah, to the, that's all, okay. Because my alternative, which is another point, I don't know how much time I'm allowed to speak, I'm just kind of here. But another thing, we've got that disc golf course that kind of just was thrown out at Portage Park. And I'm a big disc golfer, all my friends are big disc golfers, we're all from Fostoria.
We got improvements coming.
And I was wondering if there was a way to be a part of that, or who's in charge of the disc golf stuff, because we see potential not only there, but if, this new parkland at Reservoir 4, it would ease the pain a little bit for me if I got to maybe turn it into a really cool, attractive disc golf park. It's the fastest growing sport in the nation. It's contracts are being signed by the pros for tens of millions of dollars, and it's rapidly just increasing in popularity. People drive from all over to go to our little disc shop right down the street there on Center to go to his shop. I saw someone was there from St. Mary's today. The sport's big, and if we were to have an attractive course,
Say we already concrete tee boxes.
I drove down to Dayton 2 weekends ago to go to Cedar Fork, finding a place of open land like that, which would be cool to do something. So I don't know if there's a way to be a part of growth in that. I don't know.
I think that's an interesting.
Good idea.
Yes. What's your
Yeah.
Since it was brought up, Josh, do you know when the cement T-pads are gonna be going in at Portage?
I don't have a date. I know that they've already been, we've got that money set aside.
Right.
I think it's more of a figuring out when they're going to come in and do it.
My concern with that was, once the T-pads are in, the course is the course.
Yeah.
Because currently you can pull the basket, put it somewhere else. And not that the course is bad, but I don't think enough minds were put towards it to make it optimal for the space.
Well, I know the T-pads were something that's been discussed for several years and requested. And then, Councilperson Mendoza is kind of heading the grant project for some signs and stuff on the as well. So I know this is something she's also passionate about.
Yeah, it would be a shame to spend money on T-pads in spots that aren't attractive to make the course optimal, because I still drive to Tiffin and still drive to Finland because the course was designed better. But I think with more time and effort and thought behind the course layouts, either there or somewhere else or expansion, that it could be better.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to address council this evening? Seeing no flinching, we will move into business.
A resolution urging Governor DeWine and the Ohio Department of Transportation to reconsider the ending of the Route 23 Connect study and in support of an improved highway connection between Northwest Ohio and the city of Columbus.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And we have a motion to adopt by Mendoza, a second by Cassidy. Clerk, would you read the vote, please?
Manel,
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
Motion carries. That is resolution number 2023-31.
An ordinance adopting and amending ordinance number 2022-75, permanent 2023 appropriations by appropriating from unappropriated funds in the general fund and transferring appropriations to the water fund and declaring an emergency.
Move to suspend the three reading rule on three supplications.
Second.
We have a motion by Lake and a second by Logan to suspend the third reading rule. Would you call the roll, please?
Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
Three reading rule has been suspended.
Move to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt by Lake, second by Mendoza. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
That ordinance passes. Ordinance number 2023-32.
A resolution adopting the solid waste management plan for the Ottawa/Sandusky/Seneca Joint Solid Waste Management District and declaring emergency to exist.
I would recommend that council holds a special session either next Tuesday or the following Tuesday to have the third reading on this. I think the public deserves 3 readings.
I'll second that.
We do have a motion to have a special session for the third reading of this ordinance sometime in the next 2 weeks before the deadline expires. With a motion by Manel, second by Lake. Clerk, would you call the roll?
Manel.
Yes.
Shaver.
Yes.
Cassidy.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Logsdon.
Yes.
Lake.
Yes.
We can finalize that time and miscellaneous, which we are technically to now. If you guys prefer to meet next Tuesday or the following Tuesday?
I will be out of town. Just let you know. I'll be out of town next Tuesday.
About 30th.
I will be coming back probably at 6 or 7 o'clock.
6 o'clock again.
Okay, I'll be here. On the 30th?
6 o'clock on the 30th?
No, it'll be a special session. Business will be conducted, and we'll advertise it as a Tuesday, right?
Yes.
At this point, that, on the record, that'll be the only business we have that day. Is that correct, or would we be entertaining other new business? It would just be a special session with, this is the only agenda item.
I don't know of any other business. Does anyone have any other business?
So it'll be May 30th, Tuesday at 6 p.m. in these chambers. Any other miscellaneous business? Yes, sir.
Yeah, the law and ordinance meeting will be on June 20th at 5:15 p.m.
While we're on that, the finance committee will be also on June 20th.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that this council go on record with the EPA that Wind Waste Solutions should be required to maintain the total suspended solids at the current level with no increase being allowed, and that the pond should be located such that they drain to Wolf Creek, not to the Portage River.
We'll second that motion.
Manel?
Yes.
Shaver?
Yes.
Cassidy?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Longston?
Yes.
Lake?
Yes.
Motion carries.
I would ask council to entertain a motion to approve. There's been a petition from the firefighters union to set their termination date of their current contract up to get into a new 3-year agreement, and they passed that as a body. And so now I would ask the council to also sign on an agreement to move that date up. It will allow us to get a new 3-year term with the firefighters.
So you want to move the date sooner?
Correct.
So you're just asking for a motion to open the contract?
To allow, yes, to basically approve their request, that we would sign on to their request. So that way both parties are in agreement, and then they'll submit the application to serve. It has to be reflected in the minutes, that's all.
I'll make that motion.
Does that require a motion?
Yes.
Yeah, it has to reflect in the minutes.
I'll second.
So we have a motion by myself and a second by Longston to fulfill the request made to move the schedule forward for the fire department's negotiations.
Manel?
Yes.
Shaver?
Yes.
Cassidy?
Abstain.
Baker?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Longston?
Yes.
Lake?
Yes.
That motion carries. Any other miscellaneous this evening?
I know it's not the point, but did you want to ask Mr. Beatty to be here for that special meeting? Do
Sorry?
you want Mr. Beatty to come to your special meeting?
Not necessary.
Okay.
You are more than welcome to come if you'd like.
Appreciate it.
Yes, Mr. Stone.
Could we invite the commissioner's office to the meeting as well?
It'll be an open meeting, any member of the public, including commissioners and people in the solid waste district, are welcome to come.
Everybody to any meeting.
Any other miscellaneous? Now I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Cassidy, first, Manella, second. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Manel?
Yes.
Shaver?
Yes.
Cassidy?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Mendoza? Longston?
Yes.
Lake?
Yes.
We are adjourned. It is 7:19.